Monsanto has been ranked one of the most unethical company in the world, and with over 50 Superfarm sites, they've certainly earned the title. They started as a chemicals company in 1901. Their plant in Nitro, West Virginia produced two chemicals, 2,4,5-T weed bug and Agent Orange, both of which had a byproduct called dioxin, which was later found to be a carcinogen. The factory exploded in 1949 and caused harm to many of its factory employees, and also contaminated the earth around it. The factory disposed of its waste through landfills, storm drains, streams, and burned it into the air. This was the same way that their plant in Anniston, Alabama disposed of their waste from the PCBs they developed. So the EPA ordered Monsanto to clean up the site in 2003, but it's still rated one of the worst counties in the U.S. for cancer risk from hazardous waste. In fact, an example of this, a biologist, just 5 years before the plant closed, submerged 25 healthy fish in a nearby stream, and within under 4 minutes, all 25 fish had died. So wanting to get away from that chemicals past, the company moved into agriculture. Once the Supreme Court had ruled in 1980 that live human-made microorganisms could be patented, this was really big business that Monsanto wanted to get into, with genetically modified seeds. The first one approved by the USDA was in 1994, their Roundup Ready soybeans, and farmers could spray their crops with Roundup and kill the surrounding weeds, but survive the crop. So Monsanto now controls 93% of soybeans and 80% of corn in the industry. But because these seeds are patented, Monsanto can actually sue their customers for replanting seeds from a previous crop, unlike the organic industry. So they've actually filed over 100 lawsuits to date, and even some of them not customers, even some of them aren't even farmers. They have made a few mistakes here and there. They've spent millions of dollars to keep consumers in the dark. The most recent GMO labeling measure in Colorado, they spent $4.7 million, but there's been similar ballots in California and Washington. The only place it's passed has been Vermont, but it doesn't go into action until 2016. One Monsanto spokesperson said of GMO labeling, "It doesn't provide any safety or nutrition information, and these measures will hurt, not help consumers, taxpayers, and businesses. But there are many scientists which believe that they pose grave health risks to society, and in fact 64 other countries do require GMO labeling, and counties in California and Hawaii have already banned genetically modified crop growth until further research has been done as to the public health and environmental health effective." So has any safety testing been done? Well, in 2002, Monsanto did their own study on their corn, their genetically modified corn, which the FDA then approved. It's safe for human consumption. But the problem with that was they only tested 1 mammalian species, and the study only lasted 90 days. And as we know, independent studies are always preferred rather than this company doing its own study on its own product. So in 2009, the International Journal of Biological Sciences distributed a study on 3 kinds of genetically modified corn, and they did find negative health issues and recommended banning the import and use of the corn. A long-term study was done by a French scientist named Seralini in 2012, and he found that the tumors in the test rats at 4 to 7 months, along with organ damage, cancer, and premature death. The study was retracted from the journal where it was published, the Food and Toxicology Journal, but the debate rages on between scientists on both sides of the fence. But they both agree that more independent research needs to be done, and Monsanto needs to unrestrict access to that, because although they want to protect the intellectual property of their seeds, we really need to know the safety of the seeds that are feeding America. There's been some biased decisions made between different entities, including the FDA, EPA, Monsanto, and the judicial system. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who was a former Monsanto attorney, actually wrote the GMC patent rights case opinion favoring Monsanto. Outside of the U.S., Monsanto was caught bribing officials for bypassing an environmental impact study. So they don't have the public's best interest at heart, Instead, they have their own future income at heart. And what can be done differently? Restrict employees jumping between companies that share that conflict of interest, must require independent research, and exercise the precautionary principle. Halt the growth of GMO seeds until more long-term research has been done. And with so many hazardous waste sites and Superfund sites that the company has created in their illustrious past, maybe consider that they don't have the public's interest at heart and don't allow them to continue doing business.